Hello and welcome to this videocast and podcast for subscribers to davidicke.com. Well, I've had worse days. Yes! What a day when people ignored the entirety of the political establishment and said, we'll decide what happens, not what you tell us. What a day. And of course, this is not the end, it's the start, because these people aren't going to go quietly. But what a start. And we have had a situation where, against all the odds, the majority of the people who voted in this EU referendum have said bye-bye. And very soon afterwards, after the result was given, the Prime Minister, David Cameron, who led the stay-in campaign, and basically, along with his Chancellor, George Osborne, embarked on a daily lie fest and fear fest to try to get their way. But it's more than just a referendum result. It goes much deeper than that. And indeed, the result is far more significant than just that, for this reason. Week after week, we have had, like I say, the entire political establishment, whether it's the so-called right-wing Conservative Party or the so-called left-wing Labour Party. I say so-called because they're on the same postage stamp with one or two honourable individual exceptions. And the Scottish National Party, ditto. And others like the Liberal Democrats and the smaller parties like the Greens. We've had the trade unions in league with the corporations that the trade union is supposed to be protecting people from. We've had Barack Obama, US President. We've had the Governor of the Bank of England. We've had the International Monetary Fund. Other world leaders. Endless people representing the establishment and the political moneyed classes, telling what they consider, most of them, to be the serfs, that if they don't do what this elite wants, then there'll be dire consequences. There'll be dire consequences for taking your freedom back from dark-suited, faceless bureaucrats in Brussels. And in the face of all of that, the British, the European, the global establishment, all as one, telling the British people how they should come into line and stay in the prison cell. A majority of the people that voted said, up yours, darling. We are deciding on our destiny, not you. And what we've seen is this shift from people listening to their masters and alleged betters, the political class of their particular party, telling them what's right and wrong and what they should do and what they shouldn't do. This whole idea of we'll listen to this politician, then we'll listen to that politician and we'll decide what we'll do. We've had this shift to, I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you do. I've come to my own conclusion, thank you, and I'm going with it. And if we would do that on a larger, more expanded scale, across the great spectrum of subjects in society, then we would take all of our freedom back from these self-appointed leaders in their arrogance and their corruption. So it is just an extraordinary happening. All the lies, all the intimidation, all the threats, even the grotesque manipulation and exploitation of emotion in the wake of the death of MP Joe Cox. All of that thrown at us, and still the majority say, we've had enough, we're out of here. But like I say, this is just the start. Because I cannot emphasize the potential that this has for throwing a spanner of enormous magnitude into the works of this EU tyranny, which is just a mask on the face of a global tyranny. I've said I'm exposed over decades how the plan is for a world government, world central bank, world army evolved out of NATO, a world cashless currency, and a microchip population. And under that structure is designed to be a series of superstates. The one that's, of course, in place most and is further along the road to where it's designed to go, but nowhere near the end of where it's designed to go, is the European Union. And there are others around the world that are due to follow, just like that. And the idea is not that countries will leave the European Union. It is that more and more will be sucked in to the prison state. So, Britain voting to come out is their worst fricking nightmare. Not least because there are vast numbers of people all over the European Union, in other countries, who are as sick and tired of being dictated to, down to the fine detail of their lives, by people they never see and cannot even name, never mind elect. And what has happened today, has done, is to show it's possible. And I call upon all those people in Europe, of whatever political persuasion, who have just seen that we are in a bureaucratic tyranny that is nowhere near where it's meant to end, extreme as it is now, to come together and bring this nonsense to an end. And that will throw a spanner in the works, not just of the European Union, but of all the other unions that are designed to be evolved, like the European Union, out of free trade zones all over the world. The British people who voted to leave have done the most enormous favour to the rest of the world, if people will only see it. And so let's think about it. We come out of the European Union. There is no TTIP. There is no fascist trade agreement involving the UK called the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, which is being negotiated between the EU and the United States. In other words, being negotiated by corporations on behalf of corporations for the benefit of corporations and for further enslavement of the people. We come out of the EU, TTIP, gone. All this destruction of alternative health outside the big pharma cartel, the poison, the scalpel and the drug, which is being funneled in rules, regulations and laws so fiercely through the European Union, gone. If we choose in this country that it's gone, it's gone. If we choose in this country that we're not getting involved in a trade agreement like TTIP, gone. That's what it means to come out of this tyranny and to be able to at least, I know it's, no one said it more than me, that, the politics is manipulated from the shadows. But at least where it interacts with the people, we can see the people who are making those decisions, at least officially. With the European Union, name the bureaucrats dictating your life. Don't know exactly. And that's what the rest of Europe is sick of. And so it's time for everybody to take their power back from this European Union prison state that is merely a vehicle for the elite and the corporations and that hidden hand behind the corporations and the European Union to impose their will and its will upon the people of Europe. Now, of course, wasn't predictable, was it? There has been turmoil on the financial markets. Sits back in amazement, can't believe it, catches breath. Really? And we've got to realize, and I'm sure most people do, that these people are going to make it as difficult as possible for us to get out of their noose in any way that will be smooth and easy. And of course, it's not just about freeing ourselves from the European Union. It's also freeing ourselves from the manipulation of the banking system, which is controlled by the same hidden hand that controls the European Union, who use the manipulation of markets. Oh, the FTSE index up, it's down. Oh, the pound's up, the pound's down. Oh, God. To try to get us to, oh, no, we better not do this because the pound's gone down. Oh, really? Well, this is how it works. We have a web with a spider at the center of the web that's pulling the strings of the world. Didn't pull them today, though. And it controls the banking system. It controls the international banking organizations like the IMF, the European Central Bank, Bank of England. And it controls the political system. It controls the corporations. They're just expressions of it. And therefore, they are moving, this in hand, and the families like the Rothschilds and others are moving or able to move trillions of dollars around the financial markets every day. And so, if they want to frighten people into doing their will by creating chaos on the financial markets, well, they can do it to their heart's content. All they do is buy into something they want to go up and get out of something they want to go down on an enormous scale. So people like the Rothschilds and the Rothschild bagman George Soros, they move their vast amounts of money around, and they're not alone, there's many others in that web, to push the pound up, to push the pound down. Oh, it looks like it's getting going to be a stay in. Oh, push the pound up. Oh, you see, you people are thinking of coming out. Look, what's happened? The pound's gone up now. Now it looks like we're staying in. And then, of course, when they realised actually the people had spoken, the pound has gone down to, was it 1985 levels? They're saying now this morning as I'm speaking. And now it's, oh, you see what happens now. We told you this would happen. No, the people whose strings you pull told us it would happen, and you have made it happen. Not because it has to happen, but because you've made it happen. This is how it works. And so we need, now we've made this decision, to be strong, steadfast, backbone straight, so we don't get intimidated by all this manipulation, back into the fold, back into the prison, back into the noose. Because you just look at what's happened when previous referendums have gone against the dark suit elite. What they've done is they've waited a bit, done manipulation in the meantime, got people frightened. Oh, I'm not sure it was a good idea to vote what we did. And then they've had another referendum. Oh, and they get the result they want. And no, once they've got the result they want, there's never another referendum. It's like what some of people are saying now. Well, there wasn't that big a difference in the vote, so you can't really say it was really a big, decisive win. But you wouldn't be saying that if the Remain vote had won. Oh no, the people have spoken. Business as usual. What a joke it is. So, there's a very good chance that what they'll try to do is create events and say, I told you so, look, it's happening. We're making it happen. And then, let's have another negotiation with the EU. Oh, yeah, we'll give you that. Do you want how many crumbs do you want? There you go, we'll give you that. Once you're back with us, we'll take them away, but we'll give you them now. Oh, well, we've negotiated new terms, so we should come in. Watch people like Boris Johnson on that line, if they get into the Prime Minister's job, or people like him taking that line. And then we're back in the fold. That's the idea. And we need to be more streetwise than that. And people are becoming more streetwise, hallelujah, to see how these things work. So Cameron, the Prime Minister, has said that he's going to step down and someone else is going to take over to do the negotiations to get out. That's when you have to be hawk-like watching these people. They don't spin it like I've just said. Oh, we've got more from them now, and we should stay in. But what about Jeremy Corbyn in the opposition Labour Party? I've frankly been disgusted with what's gone on there. And hands up to Kate Hoey, the Labour MP, by the way, who has campaigned with not much support in her alleged party of the people, to come out of the EU, which has been crushing the very people the Labour Party claim to represent. Same with the trade unions. Pathetic. But what about Jeremy Corbyn? Here's a man that spent his entire political career opposing the European Union, gets voted, and again, big surprise, leader of the Labour Party, by the activists and rank and file members of the Labour Party to be different. And he comes in, and when they decide, he decides personally how he's going to campaign in this EU referendum, this career-long person who's opposed to the European Union starts speaking in favour of it, reluctantly maybe, but still doing so. And that is not being different. That's allowing the political class and the postage stamp politicians in your own party, who are as near the other party, the Conservatives, as you can get without changing colour, to dictate to the leader of the Labour Party, who's just been elected by the members of the Labour Party to be different, and he's dropped all his principles immediately to speak in favour of it. Oh, we'll change it from within. Don't be ridiculous. And then there's Nicola Sturgeon, the leader of the Scottish National Party. And if you take the different facets of this referendum, different areas of the United Kingdom, there was a majority in Scotland voted to stay in, which is staggering, really, when Scotland has this reputation for being radical and anti-system among large numbers of people. And I'm sure that some of that, what happened today in the vote in Scotland, is the Sturgeon factor, because she's turning the SNP and turning Scotland through the SNP, the Scottish National Party, into a one-party state. And this is a lady who is either so misguided it's breathtaking, or knows what she's doing. Her and her mate Alex Salmond in the SNP, who campaign for an independent Scotland within the EU. If ever there's a contradiction in terms ever spoken, that is it. There are no independent nations within the EU. That's why the British people have just voted to get out of it. And you have big nations in Europe completely under the thumb of the EU bureaucrats, dictating in enormous detail what can happen and can't happen, what people can do and can't do. And these big nations are impotent because of the way the laws and the structures and the European courts' imposition of these laws is all structured to do anything about it. And yet, Ms. Sturgeon is suggesting that Scotland, which is not a massive country and a massive population, that Scotland can be independent and dictate its own society within the EU. The European Union bureaucrats, especially if Scotland was isolated as its own nation, its own political structure, financial structure, the EU would have Scotland for breakfast, dinner and tea. And you need about half a brain cell on active duty to see it. But Ms. Sturgeon, who spent her time campaigning to keep Britain in the European Union, either can't see the blatantly bloody obvious or doesn't want the Scottish people to see it. I'm all for an independent Scotland, me. Diversity of power everywhere. But there's no independent anywhere within the European Union. Anyway, it's been a wonderful day. The start, but a wonderful start. And it is another indication that more and more people are awakening to the world as it is, as opposed to the one we're told to believe in. People who are awakening to their own power and awakening to the point where they are taking control of their destiny. They are deciding what they do and what they think, and not some self-appointed dictatorship. And so there are many facets and many levels to what has happened today. But the big one is that I started out doing what I do now in 1990. And what I've seen, particularly exponentially, year on year on year on year, in terms of people around the world starting to look at the world in a different way, look at themselves in a different way, and ceasing to be told what to do externally. The difference that I've seen in terms of numbers is growing and growing and growing and growing. And this referendum result is an expression of that. Because there would have been a time, and it wouldn't have been that long ago, when this tidal wave of fear, intimidation, blackmail, emotional manipulation and threats would have got the elite what they want. But it hasn't worked this time. And that is something that is highly, highly significant. And we must push it on from here. Not just not letting them tell us how we should vote in a referendum, whether we should be in the EU or not, but that we shouldn't allow them to tell us the nature of reality, what we can and cannot do, what's possible and impossible, that we should be cogs in their machine rather than individual spontaneous expressions of uniqueness, which we all are. It's just amazing to me. And what a gift those that voted to leave in this referendum have given to the rest of Europe. A gift that says, see, if we can do it, you can do it. And what a gift we've given to people like Greece. How so many people in Greece must be feeling today. To have seen the British people give the finger to the bureaucratic tyranny that has crushed that country and crushed that people systematically and mercilessly. On so many levels, this is a wonderful, wonderful day. But let us not retreat from where we are. No matter how much they may intimidate us or try to, however much they may try to scam us into, oh no, we've got new negotiations, it's different now, let's stay in. Let's make sure there is no going back. And out means out. End of story.